Welcome back to another episode of Hood and Poop. So in today's video, I will be covering this company called Datadog with you guys. Now, I'm sure when you Google Datadog, right, on YouTube or whatsoever, you will definitely get a lot of people covering the videos. Okay, um, so for my part, I'm trying my best not to give you basically what you guys have known about. I try to bring in a little bit of my thinking, a little bit different. Hopefully it adds different perspectives towards your research. Now, as always, alright, whatever I'm sharing here is purely for educational purposes. It's definitely not any recommendation to buy or to sell them. Alright. So please seek professional advice if you need help, alright, and definitely not from this channel. Okay, so without further ado, let's move into today's topic, which is Datadog. So before I go into what Datadog's all about, etc., I just wanted to bring you guys to understand about how software works as the years goes by. So traditionally, right, in the past, we have this deployment where we have the hardware, the operating system, and then we have the individual apps. After that, when it starts to move on to be the so-called like the virtualized deployment, we also have the hardware, the OS, right? Then we have the Hyper-V, after we have all the virtual machines, and then all the apps are all there. Then we move on to the next stage where we call the container development. We have similar hardware OS. After that, we have the container runtime, then with all the different containers. Basically, all the apps are all being captured into a different container. Now, moving on to the latest recent deployment, we talk about serverless architect, okay, where we have the hardware, the OS, then after we have some runtime, and all these are just all the apps. Basically, it's a serverless kind of concept. So as you have more apps that is running together, okay, it's very complicated. Okay, it adds on to the complexity of the whole software. Okay, so that's one. Now, the second thing is that there's also an increasing numbers or rather increasing numerous and ephemeral computer units. So basically, what we're trying to say is that as time goes by, okay, more and more of our computer nodes, all right, basically they are all in dynamic form. Okay, as we go from the physical hardware all the way up to the serverless, which we are all in it now at this point in time. Okay, so I want to go through what is this Datadog all about. All right, so basically Datadog, it monitors and analyze platforms for developer, IT operations teams, as well as business users in the cloud age. Okay, they generally addresses three pillars of observability using one single tool. So what are the three pillars? Which is the logs, where it captures like timestamp of records of discrete events that happen over the time. Matrix, basically it's like the numeric representations of the data that were being measured across all the intervals of time. And tracing, it's like a series of casually related distributed events that encodes the end-to-end request flows through the distributed system. So in general, okay, logs, metrics, and tracing forms the three pillars of observability, and Datadog addresses it. Okay, so Datadog also collects relevant data pertaining to the health of the system. They also carry out log analysis as well as to trace for any bottleneck. Okay, so in the past, when you collect data, it kind of a little bit of silos in terms of collecting of data, in terms of analyzing it, in terms of tracing it. Okay, and in terms of troubleshooting it takes a long time. So this is what Datadog sets out to eradicate. So of course, there are also relevant systems that is needed for application, server, infra, network, third-party services, all these types of hosting and configurations that is required for our system. And companies, okay, of various sizes, of various types, various industries, will continue their digital transformation initiatives, right? Because customers, okay, those customers that they are serving, they expect high level of service. Okay, so if they think about it from this perspective, is that as a customer, would you want, right, your so-called the company that you patron, right, that serve you, do you want their service to drop, or rather in terms of their service time to drop because of silos in their data collection, or you prefer it to be seamless? I'm pretty sure the answer is a seamless kind of engagement. And if you think about it, right, I don't think any one of us will, or rather, it's okay to settle for a less of service provided to you when a lot of other companies out there are actually increasing in terms of their service. Now, on the other aspect that you can think about it is that, generally speaking, most of the products that are being sold to you is almost the same. But what makes the company stand out? It's about the service that they give to people, how seamless it is, how one-stop shop it is. Right? A lot of companies have been coming out to say that, okay, we are the one-stop shop for this one and that. So this is something that we all have to acknowledge, that as a customer, we want good service, better service than the next. That's always what we wanted. Okay, so Datadog said that, okay, they also create more custom applications. They also host in a variety of environments and supported by various distributed services. So basically, this is what Datadog provides for people using them. Okay, now I just want to show you in terms of the difference between the log management. Okay, so in the past, okay, basically there were huge info or they call column of data that flow through a typical management solution, and then they'll ingest everything and index everything. So what happens is that, you think about it, for a company, they want to capture as many things as possible, because every piece of data to them means something. Okay, so by capturing all this data, yes, it's possible you can capture every single information, and from there you can decipher whether this data useful or not useful to you. But the downside is that it is very expensive to capture everything, and then after to index everything for you. Now, the other thing is that if you want it to be cost efficient, okay, then you only take in limited data and you exclude the bulk of it. So this saves cost, of course, because the more data you read, the more data you index, the more cost it goes up. But this excludes a lot of data, and by excluding data, we all know that the information will not be the full picture, the big picture. Okay, so what Datadog does is that they will take in all the data, all the data, okay, and then they are able to ingest everything in a cost-effective method, and only tells you what's valuable based on what you set in terms of your matrices, what you want to know. So isn't this amazing? You think about it, traditional log management solutions is that you either take in all the data and they'll give you everything, and some of it could be rubbish, or you could take in all the data and only request for a specific area of it and exclude the rest. But by doing so, yes, you save cost, but you are wasting, or rather you may intentionally miss out a lot of crucial information. But what Datadog can do is to give you the best of both worlds. They absorb everything in the most cost-effective method, and then they only give you what you want. So this is how amazing Datadog is all about. Okay, now in terms of the complexity, it's, to be honest, when I research Datadog, it's really very complicated because they are everywhere. They solve every single problem, such as IoT network, coding, workflow, deployment, container hardware sets, every single thing. Datadog just solves complexity. Okay, so I want to bring you back to this position here. Okay, now sometimes, some of you may potentially ask this question, saying, hey, look, how do I know Datadog is really that good, really cost effective and so on? Truth to be told, I do not know. I do not have the exact answer. But if you think about it, one way we can track is that if more and more customers are continuously using Datadog, okay, this just shows that perhaps there is a very important draw factors that attracts customers from using it. If you think about it, if Datadog solution is much more expensive than traditional solution, why would customers continue spending money? It doesn't make sense, right? The only time they keep spending money is because the benefits that they get is way better than if they were to stick to their own traditional so-called log management. But it's similar to all of us here. When you keep purchasing something, okay, and then if the price keep increasing to a point where it doesn't make sense, then the question of why you keep purchasing, right, will broadly speaking falls to a few criteria. One of it is that you really love this product, you cannot live without this product, so you're okay with it increasing prices. Or the second one is that there are some benefits within provided by these services allows you, right, to don't mind continue to pay for the services. Right? It's something you can think about it. Okay. Now, Datadog has also been named, alright, the leader in the 2021 Gartner Magic Quadrant for the application performance monitoring. So basically, the leaders have quite a fair bit. Dynatrace, New Relic, Datadog, and Cisco. So this tells me, yes, this affirms Datadog's capability, but this also tells me that, look, there are quite a fair bit of competitors that are within the same space as Datadog. Well, it's not 100% correct to say that they are the exact competitors, but at least you know that Datadog is not alone. It's not in a monopoly state per se. Now, look at it this way, all right? So what's the key value proposition Datadog provides to their customer? Basically, they just say that every product, it's all deeply integrated. So for example, right, we have all the multiple data sources from logs, traces, matrices, activity, etc. Okay. Then after that, you also have your platform services. Go through the platform services where it can come from analytics, machine learning insights, visualization, automation, etc. Then after all the software goes through whatever platforms, you can then be break down into different products or use cases such as error tracking, continuous profiler, log management, etc. And then all this thing goes through the single plane of glass, which is Datadog, right, across the teams, which is then Datadog can get all this data and feed it to the relevant teams such as the development, the IT operations, security, etc. So this is how Datadog does for their customer. Okay, so what is the growth potential then for Datadog? So based on Gartner's estimates, they say that the infrastructure software will reach about 53 billion in spending. So basically, customers will start spending 53 billion by 2025. Okay, now this market is, as I mentioned earlier, that is really rather saturated with incumbents offering point solutions who are not remaining idle. Right, so means to say they will continuously keep improving. However, Datadog has sprinted ahead with their full observability platform. Okay, but definitely we will expect competition to keep outwinning them in the future. Okay, so I just wanted to give you a history also of of how Datadog has been innovating since perhaps 2009 or 2010. As you can see, as the years goes by, right, Datadog have been expanding, right, in terms of their coverage, such as the recent one is security platform, or user experience monitoring, etc. And of course, this is the whole time bar. You can see that what are the different applications that have been rolled out by Datadog across the years. So if you take a look, in the last 3 years, since 2019, you can see that actually Datadog has suddenly scaled up in terms of their softwares that they roll out for their customers. Okay, so this tells me one thing. This tells me that there is a growth factor for Datadog. Datadog is growing. It's not like they just say, okay, let's slack. No, they are growing, and they are opening up different paradigms to aid their growth. Okay, so in terms of the Datadog, right? Basically, they have this system called the DevSecOps. So in terms of DevSecOps, it controls 3 different parties. Moving on to product innovation, you can tell that Datadog has a wide range of services and products under their care. For example, they have incident management, log management, APM workload security monitoring, serverless, etc. So one good way of tracking companies is that on a yearly basis, on a quarterly basis, right? How's their announcement like in terms of having more products, in terms of opening up new verticals, something that I always want to capture when I go for so-called their quarterly dialogues, right? So what happened is that Datadog basically they pride themselves as a platform level capability with and this thing called the cloud agnostic. So what happened? They actually have a lot of built-in integrations such as Azure, Google Cloud, AWS, etc. into Datadog's platform. So now, moving on to the strong upsell and retention. Okay, I've earlier mentioned, you see that look, yes, the space is very competitive. But if Datadog on a year-to-year basis or quarter-to-quarter basis is still growing, right, the dollar-based net retention is still growing, then it just shows that what Datadog is doing is perhaps something special, something good, and which is why customers are still willing to pump in money to be with Datadog. Okay, and of course, not just purchasing one product is good enough. Datadog has a lot of products, so we want to see customers buying more products on the uptrend. For example, on the left, you can see that more and more customers buys and engages 2 products from Datadog, and on the right is 4 products. Right. So you can see, this brings back to my first point where we say that there are a lot of competitors. So how will Datadog be doing well and so on? So this is also another way that we can decipher that why Datadog will do well, because like for example, the total customers has been going up. So the thing is that if Datadog screws up, I'm pretty sure the number of customers that's going up will decrease as well. But it is not shown here as far as I know. Okay, so I hope you have enjoyed this short little sharing of Datadog, and I'll see you in my next video. And that's it.